As we continue forward from licenses, adverse possession, and liens, we now focus on another critical area where property rights can be impacted: encroachments and water rights. These concepts build directly on prior discussions of easements and land use controls by further illustrating how property boundaries and natural resources can affect ownership, use, and value. This section reinforces a key principle that has been consistent throughout the course. Ownership is not always as clear-cut as property lines on paper. Physical realities, neighbor actions, and natural resources all play a role in defining how property is actually used. Encroachments, when property boundaries are crossed. An encroachment occurs when a structure, improvement, or object extends from one property onto another. Common examples include fences, driveways, garages, trees, and walls that are unintentionally placed over property lines. This ties directly back to earlier discussions on easements and adverse possession. While easements are legal rights to use property, encroachments are often unintentional intrusions that can lead to disputes or legal claims. One of the biggest challenges with encroachments is that property boundaries are typically defined on surveys and legal descriptions, not visibly marked on the land. This makes it easy for improvements to be placed incorrectly. Discovery and resolution of encroachments. Encroachments are often discovered during the sale process, particularly through surveys, inspections, or title reports. This reinforces the importance of due diligence. Agents must ensure that buyers understand the importance of surveys and title review before closing. If an encroachment is discovered, several outcomes are possible. The affected property owner may require removal of the encroachment, seek damages, or negotiate a solution such as granting an easement. In some cases, if an encroachment has existed for a long period without objection, it may even lead to claims of adverse possession, connecting directly back to the previous section. However, not all encroachments lead to disputes. Many are resolved through cooperation, such as shared maintenance of trees or mutually agreed boundary adjustments. Water rights, control and use of a critical resource. Water rights are a unique and highly regulated aspect of property ownership. These laws were developed based on environmental conditions, historical use, and the need to manage limited resources. This is especially important in states like Arizona, where water scarcity directly impacts property value and development potential. Water rights determine how landowners can use water sources such as rivers, lakes, and underground supplies. This ties back to land use controls discussed earlier. Just as zoning regulates land, water laws regulate access to and use of water, one of the most essential resources tied to real estate. Riparian and littoral water rights. Riparian rights apply to properties adjacent to flowing water, such as rivers or streams. These rights allow landowners to make reasonable use of the water, provided it does not interfere with others' rights. Littoral rights apply to properties adjacent to stationary bodies of water, such as lakes or oceans. These rights typically include access and use of the shoreline. These rights commonly include activities such as swimming, boating, fishing, and constructing docks or piers, as long as the use does not harm the water source or other users. An important limitation is that these rights are tied to the land and cannot be sold separately. This reinforces a key concept from earlier sections. Some property rights automatically transfer with ownership and cannot be separated from the land itself. Limitations and legal considerations. While water rights provide valuable benefits, they also come with restrictions. Property owners cannot pollute water sources, alter natural flow in harmful ways, or interfere with the rights of neighboring property owners. Additionally, in areas where water is scarce, states may apply different systems, such as prior appropriation, to regulate usage more strictly. This highlights the importance of understanding local laws. Water rights vary significantly by state and can have a major impact on property usability and value. Bringing it all together. At this stage of the course, the concept of property ownership has become increasingly complex. We have explored how ownership can be shared, easements, temporarily granted, licenses, challenged, adverse possession, financially burdened, liens, and now physically impacted, encroachments, and environmentally regulated, water rights. Encroachments remind us that physical boundaries do not always match legal boundaries. Water rights remind us that natural resources are controlled and regulated, not freely owned. Together, these concepts emphasize that real estate professionals must go beyond the surface and understand both the legal and practical realities of property ownership. As we move into the next section, we will continue building on this foundation by examining additional legal doctrines and regulatory frameworks that further define how property is used, controlled, and protected. Online discussion. Why are encroachments often not discovered until a property is being sold? Answer: because property boundaries are not always visible on the ground and are typically identified through surveys or title reports during due diligence. How can an encroachment lead to legal issues? Answer: it can result in disputes, require removal, lead to damages, or even create claims of adverse possession if not addressed over time. Why are water rights important in real estate transactions? Answer: because they determine how a property owner can use water resources, which directly impacts property value and usability.